Hi everybody, thanks for coming. I'm Sean Grady, I'm one of the master gardeners here and on the committee with the Seed Library, helping bring these educational programs to the community. Tonight's guest and speaker is Steve Galegor. He is going to talk about DIY landscaping design, and he's a landscape architect, he's a master gardener as well. We're really excited to have him tonight. This is the second educational series that we've had this year. Last week we had seed starting. Next week we have herb gardening. So for those interested, we're having an herb gardening session, same time here on the 21st. And then I want to mention too, on the 28th we're having growing great hydrangeas. Who's got hydrangeas at their house? Yep, we all do, and I've got those ones that don't bloom. I don't know about you, but that's those evergreen, or what do they call it? The ever-ready? I don't know, but they don't grow. So I'm going to hopefully learn something about the hydrangeas. And then the last thing I wanted to mention before Steve comes up is on April the 10th, I am hosting a podcast interview with Doug Callaby here. Doug is a renowned ecologist, conservationist, he's an author. He's also written several books. One's the last, called Nature's Best Hope is the big one that I'm familiar with that I've been reading. It's a really great book, and it's really about creating a natural park in your own backyard. It's kind of cool. So anyways, come for that as well. So without further ado, Steve, come on up. Thank you.
Well, don't clap yet. You may not know what you're As Sean said, my name is Steve Galegor. I'm new to the Master Gardener sphere and have a long history in Indiana. Grew up at Ball State while I was studying landscape architecture there, and she was from Crawfordsville. And lo and behold, 35 years later, here we are living in Crawfordsville again. Never thought that would be the case after being in a lot of different places. But having practiced landscape architecture, just a second to get this guy going here. Having practiced landscape architecture in the right places, it's something that I still do a lot of, and I put this right up front at Andrew's suggestion. One of the things I'm working on now is many of you are familiar with the concession stand there and the Purdue Extension office at the fairgrounds, new pollinator and butterfly garden. And we're planning that to go in perhaps as early as this fall. And using a natural landscape, Indiana natives and things like that. So put that up there because I didn't want to leave that the last thing and not get to it. We'll keep watch online Facebook page for donations needed and volunteers and all kinds of things as that comes around. So that's in process, but it's just great to be able to do these things back home in Indiana now after all those years. While a landscape architect out in Colorado, we did the master plan. The company I was working with did the master plan for Wabash College. All the new signage and the things that came along. One of the principals said, "Hey, aren't you from Indiana?" "Yeah." "Do you know this little college of Wabash College?" I said, "Yeah, it's in my wife's hometown. What's the deal?" "Well, we've got a job there. Why don't you come out and help us do that?" So it was fun to be able to do that and spend the weekend with my in-laws at that time. I want to refer to just some of the sources that I'm using. This has been a go-to for me for years. Residential Landscape Architecture. It's in its 6th edition. You can get a hold of it. It is a how-to on everything that I've been talking about here. It's actually written for landscape professionals, but I have found it to be useful for anybody who just wants to learn about the design process and design principles. You'll see a lot of illustrations from that. And this is one that one of our Master Garden Shared Department got me connected to this week. And I went through that. University of Wisconsin put this out years ago. It's a great, smaller version of kind of the same thing that you have there. And at the end of my presentation, there'll be a QR code, but you have it in the handout there as well. I put this entire presentation in the QR code, so you'll be able to get it out of my Google Drive, PDF version of all these slides, and there's a place where you can take notes on it. And the links to get that book over there are found in that too, as well as other links to Purdue Extension page, which I cite here. This is a great website right here, the Purdue Consumer Horticulture website. So that'll be in your handout and in the slides. That's a great place for it. And Tricia's giving me some help here with some of the plant apps and things, so I appreciate that. And then this is that folks looking at their plant that Sherry sent to me as well, and the one that they're at the end. So again, the Purdue Consumer Horticulture website is a great place to go to get all kinds of information, particularly about particular plants, design issues out there, anything and everything that we do and learn as master gardeners can be found here. Has been part of our training, but that's all accessible to you. So check that out when you have a question, and move on to Master Gardeners through the Facebook page, or if you know one of us, it's a great way to do that as well. What do you find difficult about landscape design, challenging, or even enjoyable? What are some of your thoughts? Let's start with the challenging. What's challenging about landscape design to you when you think about it, or as you try to execute things in your own property or your yard? What are some of those things?
Size.
What's that?
Size.
Size. Getting the right size of things, or whether is it in terms of plant material or laying out beds and things like that? Laying out things, okay. Yeah.
I'm continually challenged by having self-seeders, things that sow, and then keeping them in line, and mulching, and being able to mulch and not killing all the self-seeders, if I like those.
Yeah. Yeah, so just areas that you want certain things to happen, and you don't want that to happen in other areas, things like that.
Exactly, but I never know exactly how much and when to mulch.
Right, gotcha.
Are self-seeders also referred to as volunteers?
Can be, yeah.
See,
It can be called weeds in some cases too, but that depends on the person that defines that.
the difficult thing for me is being able to get a good view, a vision, and knowing what it's going to look like when a lot of these things get big.
Yeah, imagining it and envisioning it. Yeah, that's a key part of it. And that's, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say plant selection, I guess, is the
Okay.
next one I challenge.
Okay.
Sometimes
Just
like-
getting the right plant in the right spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, George?
Working with what you're left with from previous owners.
Yeah, if you bought a house, which I did, I did a lot of work. Teresa, my next door neighbor right here, she knows how different our yard is now from there. But yeah, making it your own, making it unique to you. But realizing that, boy, I've got some good things to start with, but what do I do, around that? Yeah, one other one. Yeah, cost of things. Yeah, how much can you put into it? How much this year? How much next year? How much can I do? Yeah, so that's part. Generally, most everything that you brought up here it's part of a planning process. You got to have a plan for it, and we have a plan for most everything we do. But landscape planning is one of those things. It's like, okay, how do I do that? What do I need to do that? My goal is to try to give you just some basic things on how to begin developing a plan. And there's some really simple, straightforward ways. There's some complicated, technical ways, and I'll give you a little bit of both, and you can decide which one you're going to try to do. But the planning process is one way to think about it. This is what am I beginning with, and then what am I going to do next, and then after that, and once that is done, it may lead to. This is where you get to your envisioning. There's a process of going through. Okay, what do I have now? What am I starting with? What's the end I have in mind, or what am I imagining based on things that I've seen that I like, or other things that people have told me, or things that I saw on the DIY channel on TV or whatever. How do I get from the beginning to the possibilities over there? And I'm going to try to help you think through or get some basic process steps in place, and even how to develop some tools along the way to go about that. So the first thing you have to do is create a base plan. And this is the map of your yard. It's the map of the property as it is right now. And this is the key element, and this is the thing that's going to help you time and time and time again. Because right now it is what it is, and it's going to change as you do things over time, and you can keep it up to date. But always having that, you can go back and make decisions. You can go back and decide, well, I'm going to work on this area, and it's going to cost me this much. I'm going to need this mulch over here. I don't want the self-seeders over here. I want, you know, my evergreens and my flower gardens over here. Having the bird's eye view of what you're doing now and what you want to do will just save you all kinds of time. And it'll probably save you a lot of money because you will know exactly what you want when you get to the garden center or the nursery, or you'll have that spot that you know where something belongs, and you got it on your plan, and when you see it, that's it, I'm getting it, and I know exactly where it goes. So the planning process, just like in anything, is all we're talking about. Having even a big, basic, and a simple plan will help you in a tremendous number of ways. Creating to-do lists and other kind of things. The first, I'm amazed now when I was thinking about this, because I don't practice landscape architecture like I did before. It's now kind of a side hobby after many, many years, but I still do a lot of it, and hence my interest in being part of the Master Gardeners too. But if I had all the tools that we have now through technology when I was in architecture school, landscape architecture school, it would have been tremendous. I think about what we had to do now to create some of these things, and one of the best tools we have is Google Maps. Google Maps. This is probably one of the most basic ways you can create a base plan of your property. It's not going to be hugely accurate, but it's going to be close, and it's going to be close enough that you can start thinking through conceptually on things and locating things and getting some ideas. But it's a great way to go about it. This happens to be the house my wife grew up in, so I just picked it at random. Not at random, but for that. And so there it is on Google Maps. What I did is I, took a screenshot of it on my computer, and then transposed it onto an 11 by 17 piece of paper. Took that over to Town and Country this afternoon and printed that out. So I have a place to start. One of the things that you're going to really, really want for the process that I'm talking about is a roll of trace paper. I don't know how many of you use this now. If I had known how much of this I would use in architecture, I would have bought stock in the company back in the day. Architects use mountains of this stuff, and it's a great, great tool because this is what helps you just begin to develop layers upon layers of things. Starting from your basic ideas and laying on top of it and changing something and changing something. So having a roll or two of this, and I usually use this 12-inch roll, and they do make it double that size for larger things. But for the most part, this will go on top of my 11 by 17 piece of paper here. So you see what I did is very quickly traced out the property line there with that tracing paper. There's the outline of the house. There's the driveway, the garage, the 4 big trees. I've got the start of a plan. Now this, again, it's not very accurate for measurement-wise in terms of being at a scale or anything that I can make precise measurements from, but I can get it pretty close. And what I can do is make a ruler. So I know the edge of my driveway right there going out onto the main road, that's 10 feet wide. So I made my own ruler. I went there and I said, okay, that first tick mark is 10 feet, and I'm going to make another tick mark 20. So I made a ruler that now is roughly going to work on this plan. So I've got a 100-foot ruler. I can now begin to lay that out, and I can get a sense of how far things are based on what Google is seeing, what Google is showing me. Now again, you're probably within 2 or 3 feet in most cases, which is close enough, for landscape work. But that's one of the processes, and I explained a little bit about that in the handout there, about how to create that. You may have something like this of your house as well, something like a survey or a plot map that you got from the county. You can get those at the county most places, particularly here in town. Here's one that's been blown up. This was originally a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that was 1 inch equals 20 feet. Well, that's not a really good scale to work on landscape design on, so this is 1 inch equals 8 feet in the end. So all I had to do is take it, blow it up 200%, and blow it up 125%. So 1 inch became 1 inch equals 10, and 1 inch equals 8. And now you've got something you can do at Town and Country for $4 or $5 if you have that original base plan. And Zach over there kind of knows how to do that. He works with a lot of contractors in the area, so you know what you're trying to get. But the thing about Google, and I'll mention this, I don't know how you spend much time on Google Maps or whatever, turn that satellite view on and just fly around over Crawfordsville.
Can I say that if you go to the Montgomery County website and go into their GIS, they do their flyovers before all the trees are in bloom.
Oh, excellent.
So you could see your property a little bit better.
I have seen that. That is better than Google. I'll see if I can get that link updated in my. I forgot all about that because I had done that once. But just going through that process, give yourself, get a cup of coffee and spend 15, 30 minutes flying over Crawfordsville. Try to recognize things. Where's Derelicious? Oh, there's the courthouse. Oh, there's the holiday. I say that because you can train yourself to see things from above. It's a skill that you develop over time, and just by doing it, you can begin to learn how to see things from that perspective, and you'll even find yourself imagining you're flying above wherever you are, But it is a skill that you develop over time. So there's a great tool there with Google to do things like that. And I said you have plot plans. Some of these, depending on where you live, the contractor, the developer who built the place may have one of these, and it shows the distance of your property lines. If you have something like this, it's probably to scale already. 1 inch equals 20 feet, or 1 inch equals 10 feet, or 1 inch equals 8 feet. That's probably not 8 feet yet, and probably still in an engineer scale. But that's a great place to start, to have something that you can develop a plan with, have distance on it. And I mentioned here the surveys and the plot plans that you can get as well. But what you're going to be developing is this site plan. You're just making a map of your yard. And whatever detail you want. Where are those telephone poles? Where's that? Where's the mailbox? Where are the steps? Where's where's that utility line as well? Getting all that information gathered is really the first most important thing you can do, and then saving that's good as gold. That original you can make photocopies of, or scan it in your computer, whatever you need to do. Once you have that base plan, that map of your yard, then now you've got something to work on for all kinds of different projects. Yeah.
Where do you say you went to get something that size?
I went to Town and Country. They've got a large plotter that.
And then did you get that from the assessor's office? You said you went to the court.
This came from the particular homeowner I was working with had a drawing from a surveyor. That if you got a large piece of property, you may want to invest in having a surveyor come out and do that. Once you got it, you'll get an electronic version of it. You'll also get a large version like this that you'll be able to work on, and you can check on what estimates that would be. But surveying's because of satellite and GPS now, it goes pretty quick. And you can even get the topography, the rise and fall, the hills and valleys on your property too. But one of the other things too you can do is just graph paper. You can get graph paper in 11 by 17 like this, and you begin to plot out where there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's property lines, and you start to locate the house relative to those. You can find the corners of your house and strike a couple of those, the distance to that center of that tree, distance from there, and locate where that trunk is. So just using graph paper, consider each one of those squares on the graph paper a foot by a foot. You can begin to lay out, almost like build your base plan out, like Legos. Where your corners of your house are and stuff. So that's a really easy way to do it. A little time consuming because you're going to have to get out and do some measuring. So get out the tape measure and a screwdriver and measure out the back of the curb to the sidewalk of your house, or other elements where it's better for the two-person job if you got a teenager that's looking for something to do, grandkid or whatever. But the other thing too is this is just also in terms of just knowing the character and the personality of your yard, keeping a little logbook or a gardener's book, something like that. When things are blooming, when things need to be pruned, what trees the birds tend to go to, just it's a diary of your yard. I don't know if any of you do this. I tend to do it actually in Google Calendar. When something's happened, it's like, oh, this is doing, and that time, need to mow, need to mow here, I need to deadhead these over there. I just use, it's like having it all on my phone, so use the technology to your advantage, or just write it down. Have yourself a book that says, hey, what's happening out there today? Go out there after it rains. Boy, there's a big puddle of water right here. We got a problem. This gutter is not, the water's not getting away from here, and I've got a really wet area. This area is sunny and dry, or just kind of getting to know your yard. You just spend time in it, and probably many of you, because you're here, already do that. But do it even more, and it'll reward you as you start to think about developing plans. So planning the project, getting into this process again, get some good tools. The tools are really, really pretty simple, and I got everything that I use regularly right here. This is my favorite pencil, a Ticonderoga #2. You cannot beat that pencil if you're an architect or an artist. But a good pencil, a couple Sharpies, a couple different widths of Sharpies. That works really well on this trace paper. Painter's tape, masking tape, just a basic circle template. There's your trees, there's your shrubs. All kinds of things can be done with that. This is a really handy tool. This is basically a drafting T-square miniaturized. It's a rolling parallel bar. So that means it rolls along, and you can strike parallel lines with it. All right, and make squares with it. You've got the way protractor in there that you can, make different angles, if you're trying to. So get one of those. Hobby Lobby, any art store, has those. Of course, Amazon will bring it right to your house now. So you can do that. But a rolling parallel bar is really, really handy. And obviously, you can see the size of it. You can work right on this 11 by 17 drawing, strike parallel lines, and begin to kind of shape things up. As you're making that base plan, or you're doing the line. An architect scale is handy if you're. Let me see if I've got my set there. Let me get forward here. I don't know if you've ever had any experience. Probably if you think way back in high school drafting class days, you probably had to do that. But it's not a hard skill to pick up. And as a matter of fact, there's some really good YouTube videos out there now. You just Google how to read an architect scale or how to use an architect scale, and there are 4 or 5 minute videos that'll show you how to do that. The ones that the scale sizes that you'll typically use are 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. So imagine taking an inch, dividing it up into 8 pieces, and each one of those, is a foot. Is 8 feet total, like that. 1/4 inch, same thing. So take an inch, divide it up into 4. There's 4 feet, and you can use that, and you can even get down to these levels of 1 inch. So you can, you can measure out, 18 inches, 17 inches, whatever you need to. They're 1/4 scale. That I-10 quarter scale a lot, but when you're working on this size, it generally tends to be 8 scale. So an architect scale can help handy with that, and really not too hard to learn to use. Getting some YouTube videos and helps, but it's kind of self-explanatory once you get to thinking about it and look at it. Again, you're just learning, you're developing a skill to think about how to miniaturize things. How to take things in real life and say, okay, if that's 4 feet, in real life, it's going to be 1 inch on my drawing, that way. So you learn it by doing it. And of course, you can see the difference on most architects' drawings. You'll see them put a bar like this so that you can compare, okay, what is that distance? Oh, that distance is 4 feet in real life. But you can see how, the same area, square footage, looks very different on 1/16 of an inch. An inch equals 16 feet, an inch equals 10 feet, an inch equals 8 feet. It's the same area, but looks different because of the scale size. So that's again, you'll learn that by doing it, and there's some helps out there to help you do that. But once you do that, and you have your base plan at one of those scales, now you can start measuring things. Okay, I need 10 feet of, edger right there. I need 50 square feet of mulch at 4 inches thick. I need 10 bags, something like that. You can start to do those kinds of things. That plant and that plant need to be 10 feet apart, or those trees need to be 12 feet apart. Or I need, 15 hydrangeas for that bed right there, because it's, each one of them is going to get to be about 3 feet wide, the drip line, and I'm going to set them next to each other. So you can really, it's really, really handy when you got that base map, and you can actually use rough measurements on there. Even at that Google scale, you can get pretty close, and you might be, just a little bit off, but not that much. What you want to do with your base map then is take an inventory. What's going on out there? So you've got your base map, but what you want to do is just find out, okay, what's out there in the yard? Where are my trees? This is, again, something you can read in the PDF version of this in my Google Drive there. This gives you some instructions on how to locate things, windows on your house, where the patio is, where the driveways are, the sidewalks, just things you want to be aware of. Those are fixed things. I'm not moving those. I got to work around them. Where are they? Where are they going to? Where am I going to have a problem getting a large plant in, because the bed can only be so big. You got to know where those things are, and you just basically say, what is there now? I got a shed out there. I got a fence over here. I got a fence over here. I got an existing tree. You can see some of the things that the architect here, or the designer, has put on there, just to know, okay, before I start designing anything, I got to know what's there. Because I might want to remove some of this in order to do what I want. Or I'm going to just build on what's already there. I like what's there, but I'm going to make it bigger. So I want to know, and I want to see that. So this is where, again, you can see you've got this bird's eye view of your property, and the distances with your scale. You say, well, my property width there is 50 feet. You can start to really get a sense of the space there. And again, a lot of it just comes by doing it. Just spend time thinking about, like, you're a bird flying over, and how's that bird seeing that? And Google, again, is a good way to help you do that. You want to analyze the yard too. Where's the sun coming from? Most drawings, you can get them, north is up. So the sun is over here. But that's not always the case. Your Google drawing may be different. You can see it on the shadow usually. But where is there a slope? Do I have a utility pole? I got a low area here that collects some water. That's where my septic system is coming out right here, or my utility lines. My water line is coming in there from the main street. So you're just analyzing what's there, the physical things, but also sort of the thing, the wind. Where's the wind? We got a real open, I got cornfield over here, and just in the summertime, it's just blasting us. That's a problem. You want to get that on there. Anything like that you notice, just get it on your little annotation, just so you know, to be aware of it as you go into thinking about how to solve that problem, or how to take advantage of that view that you got. You don't want to plant a great big evergreen tree in front of your view of the lake. You don't want to do that. You're probably not going to do that anyway, but as you're planning, you can be thinking about those kinds of things. So note it on there. I got a great view of, the woodland to the south of me there. I don't want to do anything there that's going to cover that up. You want to note zones that you got. What are the zones that you have? Well, this is a driveway area. This is the area we walk in. This is a lawn and open space area. There are kind of bubbles here. What are the different rooms out there? They're used differently. The backyard's used very differently than the front yard. Nobody ever goes in the front yard. It's just you look at it, right? The backyard's where everything's happening. Or that fire pit area over there, or the kids playground is always over that way. You just kind of getting a sense of where the spaces are that you want to be aware of, or that you want to start using. Microclimates are another big. There are who knows how many different microclimates in your yard depending on what side of the house it's on. The south side of your house is going to get the sun, it's hot, it's dry. You all know that already. The north side of your house is always wet. There's green stuff on your siding, and you're constantly, trying to get grass to grow there or something like that. So those are the things that you're noting on that plan as well. You got them there all in one place so you can just think about them and see them all at one time. That's the beauty of having it on a base plan. So diagramming then from this point. Okay, you got a base plan, you kind of know what's going on out there. So, here's my base plan, and I put a layer of trace paper over it, and I put all my analysis on there, and I know where my trees are and my utilities and where some of the problems are on. What am I going to do next? Well, now I'm going to start thinking about what I want to do. What's the new thing that I want to do? And keep it simple. Don't start getting down into details real fast. Keep it really, really general. You know, big bubble diagrams. We're going to have a kid's playground area. This is going to be my lawn area. We're going to have the fire pit over here, and this will be the patio. You're already thinking about what those are, but you're not trying to get down into the nitty-gritty of it yet. Just trying to figure out, okay, how do those things relate to one another? What's the relationships? And you know what? I could even switch that around. You could generate all sorts of things, but you can do it really fast, and you don't have to get bogged down in details and other things like that. Keep it really quick, just like the kids do in kindergarten. If you got to get a big fat crayon to do this, get a big fat crayon to do it. Just do it very, very, very simple and very quick, very loud. You want to have fun doing it, so to speak. You want to, think about connections of things. So I've got this lawn area, but I've got my vegetable garden over here, and I need to get up to the house, and I need a walkway here through. I've got maybe a shade garden here that I need to get through, and what's the connection here to the play area? So again, you see how very simple these diagrams are. You're just thinking about it. You're just sitting there with a cup of coffee and just thinking about, dreaming like, what could this possibly look like? I don't like what's going on now. What could it be? And maybe option 1, option 2, option 3. You just, the sky's the limit. There's just do whatever, and you never know what's going to emerge out of one of these. This is kind of where creativity starts to really begin to percolate, because you start to imagine things, but you're imagining them very, very quickly and very simply. You're not trying to think about what color things are. You're not trying to think about, the sizes of things yet. You're just getting a really, really good sense of, hey, where does the couch go? Where do the end tables go? Where are we going to put that, desk? It's the same stuff we do in the house. When we're moving in or thinking about using space in those places. So again, just you see how simple this kind of diagram is. Any architect, any building that you ever loved being into looked like this at one point in time. Any landscape that you ever enjoyed looked like that one time, right out of the mind of the designer. It was very, 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 very quick way, and probably one of multiple variations. When you do this, though, too, make sure you don't leave any spaces unaccounted for. That's the problem in this area right here. You see these are just chopped up. What's going on in here? What is all this? Is that grass? Is it gravel? Is it, what is that? What's that space? You want to account for every spot on there, even if it's just for nothing, just for looking at it. Just say, this is just where, the grass is going to be. We're not going to have anything going on there. But you want to account for it. So you can see in this diagram very quickly again, every bit of the space is being used up. You know where it is and where the limits of things are, generally speaking. So that's another thing to keep in mind there. And then, of course, you can see again the diagramming that we're doing in this series of drawings here. Every area is covered. You're looking at different kinds of uses, garden here, and multi-use area there, and play area over there. So, again, if you got that base mix, see how powerful it is when you've got that base drawing like this that you can work with. You are doing all kinds of stuff, and it hasn't cost you anything. And you haven't made any big mistakes. If you're going to make mistakes, they're going to be on paper. It's not going to cost you anything. When you do, you've already thought through it very, very well. It's very, very much the same kind of process. You wouldn't build a house without making a plan like this, or doing any kind of a project or a shed. You think it through. And we don't often think about that as landscape, because we think about that particular area or that particular area. But it really is another room of your house. It's an extension of who you are and your living space. So you want to plan for it. Think about your style too, because you can do the same thing. That diagram, those bubbles can look very, very different in reality, but they're really the same thing. It could be a very geometric design. It could be a very kind of, angular geometric design. It could be a very, very natural design. It could be a very, very natural design. All natives kind of wilder looking. But the functionality is the same. You got open area, you've got this open area, you've got the framing area, the bed's back along here, the kind of the screening here. It's the same diagram. It basically comes down to the same diagram. It's just now expressed at this level in a different way. I like squares, or no, I like flowing, geometric shapes, or I like angular things, or I like it very natural and loose. This is where you start thinking about that level thing. And again, that's just another layer that goes on top of your diagram. What's that diagram look like? Which one of these forms is it going to take? Or even another one. Again, the sky's the limit. Do it. You're just dreaming on paper right now to do that. And believe me, you can do it. So when you get to this point, well, you see what we've done and what I've talked about this part, and why I express the use of this tracing paper. You've been building up layers of things. From this base drawing, you've been adding layers of information on top of one another. What's actually there, an analysis of what's there, some of the things that the uses that I want to have in the different spaces and zones. And now I'm starting to even give some form to it. What's it going to look like? Natural, angular, whatnot. And you're just building layers up. This is basic stuff that we begin to teach us in architecture school. And it's very, very simple. Because as you do that over time, you become more and more familiar with what's there and what is possible. And it almost like it grows out, it's like a seed that grows right out of your yard. But it's actually growing out of your mind. I've always thought, and I think it was Frank Lloyd Wright who kind of coined the idea that, any site that you go to, a good architecture is like it grew out of that. And that's why his architecture was tended to be very organic, because he was like, there's a seed already there. My job is to cultivate it and to design it given the needs of the client, and boom, it'll emerge. And it's almost like this process of you doing that, begins to you bring your thoughts to it, you bring what's already there to it, and it comes together into something that is very unique to your own situation. So you can start refining, from those bubble diagrams, generally that's pretty basic. 3 or 4 zones there. We've got an existing tree right there. We're starting to refine it a little bit. Okay, we're going to break it down now. We want a terrace over here. We're going to have some tall shrubs over here. We're going to have some low shrubs over here. So you can see how they're starting to begin to think about just another level. We're getting another level of detail and thinking, but it's still pretty basic. You can't tell where individual trees are. You can't tell where individual shrubs are. But basically where they're going to be at the next level there, where the different areas are going to be. So you can start to get a little bit more refined there. And again, as I said, you're just layering all that together. So you see all these layers: the base map, the lot analysis, the uses, and now the design sort of emerges on the top. So I'm now working on my top layer up here. I've got all that stuff underneath me, and I'm starting to really begin to think about, okay, where specific things are starting to go. This is where you can start, using your circle template. Now I'm starting to think about individual shrubs. I got this big blob that I really like, low evergreens. I need some blue rug junipers in there. Well, there's that blob. Well, how many of them are going to go in there? Well, let me get my circle template out and lay them in there. They're going to grow out to be a maximum, according to the tag, about 3 feet wide when they're mature. So I need to find what that circle at 1 inch equals 4 feet is going to be 3 feet. So I need to put those right next to each other. I need 10 of them there. You start to get to some detail. Everybody following along? Where you don't have to get to that level, quickly, but you can get roughly, in the ballpark about how many you would need. And the beauty is, you can always take it back and get a refund if you need to. Right? In some cases, not always, but here's where you can just start to get really creative. If you want to stay at this level, that's enough. I'll go over to the garden center with this, and I know I'm not sure what these are going to be, but I know they need to be, a couple of feet wide and 3 or 4 feet tall. And so I can go look around. I keep an ask, hey, I need something that's going to be evergreen, that's going to be 2 feet wide and 4 feet tall. What are my options? And And you can start to, and you got a plan, you can start to imagine, yeah, I like that one. I like those Alberta spruces right there. That would be nice. You know, they don't grow fast, and they got a nice fine texture to them. I'll put those there. You know, I really love that Japanese maple. I need that big red, you know, maple that's going to get right. That pink dogwood's going to go right there. You know, in my plan. So from that, you can begin to start making decisions. And you may or may not do all of it at one time, but you know what? I can afford that one this year. I'm going to put that one in. And the next year, I'll put those in. So you can begin to even budget and plan at this level right here. But if you want to get artistic and get to a level over there, you know, go right ahead. That's where just drawing styles, and then you got this that little booklet that's online that I showed you. You know, shows you how to draw some of these. So have fun. You know, go back to your color days as a kid, drawing. You're an artist if you are, and you know, just it's yours. You're your own architect at this point. Your own designer. So enjoy that. Here's we're getting a little detail in terms of planting. So this would be what a full-blown planting plan looks like. So you know, I've got 4 noted here. You can see the distances. Those are exact distances that they're measured out. There's 4 of them. AS probably could stand for Acer Saccharina. Those are 4 sugar maples. You know, this is the kind of thing. This is kind of technical detail. You're welcome to get to that level if you want. Feel free, but you can kind of see how, you know, how a planting plan works like that. Some design tips. Keep it on my time here. I'm going to give a little time for questions here, but what I tossed together here are just some. They had some in these books, just some really quick things to keep in mind as you're designing. You know, some tried and true things that generally lead to a good, eye-pleasing design. In most cases, they're tested over the years, and the kinds of things we learn in the profession. I took a few pictures around town. So, caveat: if you see your house or your neighbor's house, don't tell anybody. I just took them as examples of here's where that can be an issue. So, my wife said, "You're going to be careful doing that." So, balance. So, if we're looking at the bird's eye view, you want balance to the yard. You want things to feel like they're even with one another. Over here, you got all this empty space, this lawn, and everything's stacked over here. It's even from above, you can tell it's not looking right. But this is just going to feel very, very heavy on one side. You know, when you look at it. So balancing, you can see how the designer here has balanced things out. There's 3 trees here, but there's one big one that kind of sets. You know, they're kind of on a scale, and they even out with one another. So there's a sense of you know, you're in that space. There's a sense of you're in a place that's at rest. You're not wondering where's the tree that ought to be over there. Why is it so dark over here and it's so bright over there? You know, those kind of things. Just some basic things. Here was a good example of balance. Right, you have the house over here, the trees over here, and this beautiful magnolia blooming right now. It's got balance to it. It just looks like, you know, you're not wondering what to look at. You enjoy the whole scene, kind of thing. Grouping and edges. You want to group things together, not have them scattered out in the lawn out by themselves, but you know, a sense of enclosure so you can see how the edge goes all the way around here. That's always a great. It just simplifies things. You might have 50 different plants in there, but by putting an edge around it all the way around, whether it's a geometric one or a loose one, it will look like it's one thing, and it will simplify things. It's a very, very simple thing to do. So, you know, cut edges and include elements and plans and bird feeders and bird baths or whatever. Get them all in that space and leave the empty space empty, and you know, the edges around these kinds of, it's a very, very easy way to begin to just give some simplicity and good design to it. But you don't want it to be too curvy, all right? Don't get too curvy, all right? One of the things that will determine this is how tight can your lawnmower be, right? Everybody knows it, you know? That spot that you always say, I gotta fix that, all right? So think about your lawnmower when you do it, you know? So you can see, and it's just, it's not chopped up like this. This would be very, very hard to understand what's going on if you were walking out into that space. This one's very easy to pick up. You can see it very, very quickly. You'll start to see these things as you walk around to places and say, oh yeah, that's why I like that space. It's got a simplicity to it. There's a nice edge. I can follow it all the way around. And I feel like I'm in a spot here. This is just a little thing. Right angle connections are really helpful when you're doing beds and things like this, or you're coming up to a sidewalk or a patio. Very helpful for maintenance and for mowing, but also visually, just makes it look clean. These little weird angles that you can get. You know, if this was like that, that always kind of chops the space up, so keep those kinds of things in mind. You see them every now and then. Order in one, so again, just including things. Everything is spread out, it's not really connected. Something to connect them all together. You know, a bed, you know, a mulch area or ground cover or something like that that just brings everything together. You don't want them chopped up into spaces so they're out on their own. Try to bring everything together. Bring it into a family. Bring it into a community as best you can. Picture here where you can just see it. You know, it needs some more stuff filling in. Stuff we probably found out not you know, survived over time, but you know, bringing like things together. You know, these together, bringing the like things together, just will start simplifying things and make it look more pleasing. Focal points, pointing things out. You know, what do you want to look at? You know, you have a special set, you know, set of trees here. These are kind of framing things. You got, you know, these two trees out here that you're looking at, but you want to, you know, when you come out and say, oh, I want to see that magnolia tree, or I want to focus on that that garden sculpture that I bought, or that gazebo that I built. You know, where you put those things is very, you know, is really, really key, especially in a small space like this. But same kind of thing, whether it's a, you know, curvy shape like this, or something geometric where you put those focal points. Think about those. And you may not have it yet, but you know where you need one. And when you're at that art show or you're at that antique store, it's like, there it is. I know exactly where that is going because it's on your plan. You don't know what it is yet, but it's a big blob on your plan that says, okay, I need a focal point here. I want to look at something, a fountain or whatever it is. Good example of that at the Wabash College, right there, the clock, right through the building's focal point. You're going right at it. It's put you know, in that spot. Everything orients yourself to it. So a dominant negative. That's the other thing you want to have. Notice how in this diagram here, all these spaces are equally the same distance or the same size. The lawn needs to be much bigger. It's the big thing that everything revolves around. So think about positive and negative space. Negative space, you may not think how important it is, but it's actually really important. The positive doesn't make sense unless there's a lot of negative to counter. You need lots of negative space, and then the positive space you really can see it. So empty space is not useless space. It's very, very helpful visually. Again, you just see very quickly. All the space is filled up here. Now it's hard to tell this time of year because things aren't up. And but you know, if you had a larger lawn area in here and things, the beds were probably half the distance. You know, you would see things, so things would pop out a little bit more. So again, hopefully again I don't offend anybody here. I don't know where everybody lives, so it's totally random. But again, tie it all together. You know, things out on their own instead of being in beds. You know, you can take the same elements and just by putting them all in the bed, number one, it just makes it so much easier to maintain it, and so much easier to, it's so much more pleasant to see. And you know, you can do lots of different things, but that element of tying it all together really helps. Yeah, here's again just things out on their own. That's hard for that plant, the maintenance of it, you know, but making this bed come right through there solves that problem. Bring it inside and make it belong with the other plants, and you've got all kinds of other things that you can do, some 2 or 3 other things that you can include as companions to it there. There's where you can see it in plan. Notice how things are scattered. You don't want to scatter things, you want to group them. You know, put them together. There's a one-off thing, that's a special plant, but these are all sort of, you know, the backdrop singers, the background singers. You know, they're there to make the star shine. You know, they're right behind that, so those evergreens there, or this group of dogwoods over there, whatever they might be. But group them together, and don't space them out just to try to fill the space. You could use the same number of plants, but the way you group them will make a big difference. You can see the kind of groupings, you know, we've spread things out that way. This, yeah, same kind of thing, massing things that belong together. Plants that like, keep them together. Try to plant in odd numbers, you know, 3s, 5s, 1s, 3s, 5s, and so on. That's always just, it's just visually a lot easier and more pleasant to look at. You can see, you can get a wabash here, just the massing. So those plants there, mass here, and of course the big, probably little perennials that will come up there later on. Put plants in community. You know, again, just see how to connect things. They don't look like they belong to each other. I'm not quite sure the relationship, but now with a little row of ground cover or some evergreens or whatever underneath it, boom, it looks like it all belongs together. Very, very simple kind of thing. So you can see stuff like that. And of course, pick your shape and style. You know, you want it to look picturesque with that, you know, lean dogwood there. If you like that nicely, you know, French topiary kind of thing, you know, you can do that. It's the same space, but by choosing your plant shapes and things like that, you can make it feel very, very different. But that's a personal choice and plant choice that you'll make it the nursery, but you'll probably have an idea of it when you start doing your plan. And make it look deep. Here you can see how evergreens underneath and layering things. You know, this tree is out in the front and behind. Evergreens tend to give you a sense of depth because they're dark in color. You know, even out in the sunlight. You know, and then you pull the deciduous plants that will lose their leaves in the wintertime out a little bit more, but you'll always have that backdrop of the evergreens there. Go here to this guy here. Yeah, again, you want to balance evergreens and deciduous plants too. You know, obviously for winter interest, too many evergreens, it's just kind of one mass and it's a little heavy and dark and there's not a lot of interest to look at. Too many deciduous plants, you got nothing but bare sticks in the wintertime. So you want to balance those together, and so you got some nice ones that will flower here in the spring, and some evergreens back there, and another nice summer flowering one there in the backdrop. Evergreens underneath that, and your nice flowering magnolia there, whatever it may be. So you can see how all that ties together, but mix those well. And generally, a little bit more in the evergreen than in the deciduous, because they're gonna just always be there, and they're there to kind of anchor things in the wintertime. A little bit too many evergreens here. So again, you can see how breaking that up would make that better. Here, too many deciduous, these hydrangeas, there are all there is. So if there was a massive evergreen behind these or along the back, you'd give it just a little something more to look at and enjoy even in the wintertime. It wouldn't take much. Again, plant in, don't plant in, unless you really want to do this, and create tension for yourself or others. Which tree do I look at? Which one? All right. Yeah, so a third tree in here makes all the difference. And so you can see how the odds working together bring a sense of balance. Things just seem more natural and orderly when you're planting in things that you're not trying to figure out which one's the major one, you know, unless it's really big, you know. One big tree and two little shrubs. Well, okay, there's 3 of them there, but I know the tree is front and center, and these guys are back to these seniors. But if they're all the same thing, put them in odd numbers so that there's just a sense of, you know, along. It's like they naturally grew up that way. You know, you're gonna feel that way a little bit more. You can see the tension that 2 trees on the side, and that's okay. But it might be better if that tree wasn't there. This tree is already there in the foreground. This tree is in the sideground, and so you feel a sense of like, okay, I know what I should be looking at. Put an edge on things for maintenance And for visual things, it's a, you know, it could be any number of things. There are all kinds of options out there for edging. I love to use this little half moon edger. Does anybody have one of those? If you like, yeah, you get them any garden center. It's just, if you want a nice, you put a line down, or you put your garden hose wherever you want your bed are, and you take that thing and you just go along. It's a nice straight edge. And then you clean your grass out of it, bring your mulch up to it, whatever. And you can do that 2 or 3 times in the summer, and it does a great job. That's a great little tool to have, this half moon edger. But, you know, you use stone, some of the, all kinds of edging kinds of things, but it really helps visually, but also with maintenance. And, you know, you're less likely to damage some of the plants with the mower and the weed eater and things like that, particularly the tender ones, the perennials and things, annuals in the front. You're making space, so just be aware of, you know, the spaces that are created inside groupings of plants, and even in low areas and things like that. That's something, again, that you probably won't imagine on your plan, but you'll start to see and feel when you're actually putting it in the ground. Your plan might say put it here, but when you get out there, say, you know, it needs to be over that way just a hair, because it feels a little too tight, you know? The couch doesn't go there, it needs to there, you know? It's the same kind of thing. You know, big space. And space that you even look at. You know, this little group right here is creating, it's not a fence, but it sure acts like one, it sure feels like one. For that little space over there, so those kind of things. Wall heights, this level, I love this little, you know, just define, you can see into the yard, but you got an edge there and just a sense of space that's created with that. So, you know, there's, even just putting in small walls, even though they might be holding anything up or back, they can just define the space, and you can see, imagine a patio in there, or a set of chairs, or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna head further here. Well, yeah, let me ask if you do have questions about, there's a QR code. It's in the handout. If you snap that, you'll be able to get a PDF for this presentation, and the handout is in there as well. And I'll add that link to the county. I forgot all about that. That's what I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great way. It's much cleaner. I remember the time I looked, you could see everything underneath it. So it didn't have a leaf cover. Google, you never know when Google's going to snap a photo of your house. It's changing all the time too. So, but questions, thought, was this helpful?
I was wondering if you could go back to your 4-H drawing and talk us through that.
Oh yes, let me do that. Yeah, I'll just tell you just quickly some of the design principles that are going on there. So, I've got 2 buildings here. So there's the food extension office, and there's the concession stand. So very quickly, the layering that I did, I said, okay, I've got a utility area here, there's a door here, this is where people are going to be coming out, there's a kind of a railing there that you see, you know, I got utility poles there, and there was a water spigot around here somewhere. So I'm thinking about those kind of things, and then design-wise, I'm thinking, okay, well, people park their cars up here, and they need to be able to walk through here to the main area, so I don't want to cut that off. So we need to have passage, and people need to be flowed through there. But you know what? It would also be nice to have a space where, let's say we had a reception of some sort, or an outdoor artist decided he wanted to put some sculpture here, and we could have a little reception area right here, and people could gather, or there could be some kind of thing like that. So that's that dominant space there is created for that purpose. There's a place there where people can gather, and there's some grass. But then we need a focal point too, and have a nice tree here that will define this area and kind of give some sense to the center of that space, but it's framed by all of this, you know, these organic shapes. And it's an agricultural area. I don't want it to look geometric, you know, I want it to look like.
What is the building to the left? We're trying to figure out where we're at.
This is
That
the
building.
extension office.
Okay.
Right here.
Extension office.
You guys got that? Yeah, I'm looking to the south. Part of the park there. So what this is intended to be is a demonstration garden for Indiana natives that would attract pollinators, and bees, butterflies, hummingbirds that were tending to get in with little water features. You always need water with pollinators, particularly butterflies. But trying, Indiana natives like to put some boulders, some field boulders in there, and maybe an old rusty Indiana fence row, right there, you know, just to kind of look the part, you know, something like that. So again, just dreaming about what could be, you know, in a thing like this. But hopefully we'll see some groundbreaking on this at the end of the summer. We're going to be doing some work on the extension building here soon. So or maybe September we'll do that. So yeah, but same process I just walked you guys through. Just what's there, what are the functions, what are the use areas, where should they arrange, how do you need to move through the thing, and just start dreaming and thinking about shapes and things like that. So there's kind of a small mountain of this, you know, somewhere in my closet. Eventually got to this, but you can see how rough this is. It's not, you know, you couldn't hand that to a contractor and build from it, but I could because I've built it 1,000 times in my head already by all that layer, you know.
So have those plants been selected? Like, do you know what those plants are?
Yes, I do have a plan list made up for all of this, and I can drop it in that Google Drive. You guys want to see what that is?
Yes,
yeah.
I do.
Yeah, we've got I shared that a couple of weeks ago. So they're all Indiana natives. They're from the Purdue Extension site. So tried to pick something there that lots of different colors, different times of the year, different kinds of. There's some major plants you want to have for sure. We want to have a monarch way station in here. So it has to have a certain size and it has to have a certain number of kinds of plants in order to be a registered monarch way station. So this will be another one here in town. And how many do we have, Andrea? 2 or 3? You guys have one at your house.
We have one at our house. I think there's 3.
There's
Heather
3?
Rock has one at her house,
Okay.
and I think someone else has one.
Yeah, so there'll be a way people can say, oh, I'd like to have one of those at my house. There's what I need to do. So it'll be a kind of a demonstration for that. Imagine, you know, kids doing some field trips out there to study the native plants, but wildflowers and especially the pollinators. So, yeah. So, can you do this with your own yard? Have a little bit of a level of confidence? Did I give you too much? Or?
It's fascinating. I have a question about existing shrubs that, I don't know, the original house is 1911, so I don't think the shrubs have been there that long, but they've been there a long, long time. So I'm not opposed to backing the truck up and pulling stuff out, but I don't know what that's going to do to the foundation of the porch. I don't know how much those roots has. Do you have a, you know, like a divining rod or something that you can go, oh, don't do that because you're gonna really mess up your foundation and then.
Yeah, I don't jerk anything out too close to the foundations normally. Yeah, you wanna get down there and find out where those roots are.
So do you have advice on how to do that?
Well, you just gotta dig them out.
Okay.
Dig them out, cut them off. Yeah, you don't wanna
Pull it out, especially later.
Yeah, if it's out in the middle of the yard, I have no problem backing the
But
truck
when
up.
it's next to a
Oh,
foundation,
boy, when
okay.
it's down there.
That's
And
what I was
there could be a gas line in there too.
Exactly,
There could be
exactly,
an old utility line, an old, you know, iron pipe or something.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of speaking on that level, it's always important to call 811.
Yes, yeah.
It's 811, be call before you dig, it costs you nothing. You just call and you give them your address, they come out and they'll mark every single electric line or whatever you have. I think that's extremely important.
It is.
And you can,
Even early on in the planning stage, you may not be doing anything, but have them show where it is, and then you can get it on your base plan, and you know where they are. And then when you actually go to dig, you can have them come out again, or you know where those flags should be. So it's even really important in the planning phase. You may not be digging for a year or two, but get it, you know, you'll be able to measure out or know where it is and get it on your base plan.
The National Weather Service has issued a severe thunderstorm warning.
There it comes.
The other thing with 811 now is that you can also just white spray paint where you want them to mark, if you don't want them to mark the whole property yet.
yeah,
So you can,
white line it.
you can make the space smaller, whatever it'll be.
I was going to ask you, earlier he mentioned the idea of, you know, trying to find the right types of things. Do you have a go-to place? I haven't looked at the file that you shared with us, but do you have a go-to place that kind of gives some good ideas of different types of shrubbery or things like that? I mean, I'll be driving down the street and I'll see some gorgeous shrubs. I have no idea what they are.
Yeah, in my in the handout there, I didn't put it up in here. I should have a slide on it. plant ID. One of the best ones you have is on your phone with Google Lens. You're walking along, you're taking a walk with the dog. What is that plant? You put Google Lens on it, and
I am aware of that, but sometimes I can't stop in the middle of the street.
oh, I know. I think another practice for me is just going to places where those plants are identified, as, typically a garden center. Just get it on your calendar. Say, I'm going to take Saturday morning in the spring, in the summer, in the late summer, fall, and I'm just going to go and see what's going on there, and get familiar with them, and take a photo of that plant tag or whatever the case may be. Just getting familiar with them, or if you like botanical gardens or things like that. And then you can start to do the research. Well, does it even really grow in our zone? Is it southern Indiana or south? Is it is it where we are here? So you need to start learning and becoming aware of those kinds of things. And you just really get to know them without having to bring them home and know whether or not it's going to work or not. You can do research, and a good garden center has kind of a display area where you can see things featured, and they're well. There's a number of them in the area that probably all of you are familiar with from here: Lafayette, Indianapolis, Brownsburg. Just go and visit those and get a sense of. You're going to be getting them when they're small. So the other thing you have to think is, okay, that tag says this is going to be 4 feet wide and 6 feet high. So I got to get that in my mind. And when I draw that on my plan, it needs to be 4 feet wide, not the 18 inches that it is right now in the pot. So that plan is where you can say, okay, I can only put one of those there. I like it, but it's going to be bigger. So don't know if that helps, but but if you get a chance to use. I got some plant apps, ID apps on there that I pulled the master gardeners, the different ones that they use. So any of those are in use by our group, and I tend to use Google Lens because then it pops up pictures and other websites I can check and see and get to know a little bit more information. So it's just a good research tool. So hope that helps. Yeah. Or worst case, ask somebody. Somebody you may know, but yeah, there's a lot of tools out there to use. Nursery garden center is a great place to go.
What do you think about using, since next week's herbs, incorporating those in your landscape areas?
Absolutely, yeah. I grow rosemary, sage, all kinds of thyme right in my landscape. And even sometimes vegetables. I'll pop in a tomato plant here and there. It's, what the heck? It's sunny. It's got a good spot. I'll put a little extra water there instead of what it normally takes. So yeah. If you want it, put it on your plan. You might need to know some. It may not work with certain plants, so you want to do a little bit of research, and some of those things are tried and true. And there's probably on the Purdue website there's plants that there's some lists on what goes next to each other and what doesn't. What works well. Just obviously keep your tomatoes away from your black walnut. If you can even have them in the same yard. I'm having a terrible time getting tomatoes because we used to have a huge black walnut in the backyard. Boy, the ground is just saturated with that stuff. Yeah, Teresa knows. Good.
Well, Steve, thanks so much for coming tonight.
Great
That was so
questions.
wonderful. Yeah, it was very good.
A lot on you, but hopefully you can get at it in the